I make a TBR every month, but the question is, do I actually read the books that are on my TBR? And welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is For a Pause in a Book. I make bookish videos over here on my little corner of the internet, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. I have a spreadsheet and it's time to face the music and see if I actually read my books that I say I'm going to read every month. If you're new to my channel, I play Kerplunk, which is basically a TBR game where I pull sticks, I pick prompts, and then I read them. Or I read books that are associated with that prompts. And I went through my entire year of Kerplunk TBR, January through November. December I did not do a Kerplunk because I needed to catch up on a bunch of things, but it's back for 2024, so you can check it out. I think that was my most recent video that just came out, so you can check it out up there. But today I want to reflect on 2023 and talk about the books that I maybe haven't read because the numbers are scary. I added 100 books to my Kerplunk TBR in the year of 2023, and of those, only 70 of them were read. And not all of them were read in the month that I assigned it to. Some of them I read later on. So we're gonna go month by month, and then we'll talk about the books that I haven't read, and then maybe I'll do a vlog where I read some of them. Obviously not all 30, but some of them, and I'll, you know, catch up, reflect on 2023. I am also adding any DNFs into my unread books, so some of them like I at least gave a try, but I didn't necessarily finish them. So let's start with January. January we started out on a pretty low note. We only had 8 books to read, and I read 7 of those in the month of January and 1 of them in another month. I had A Touch of Light by Tiago Abdallah on my January TBR, but I didn't get to it until a little bit later into the year. I was very ambitious with my Spiff Bow TBR last year. In February, I had 9 books on my TBR, and I read 3 of them in February. I read 3 of them another month, and I still have 3 that are unread. So even though I read 28 books in the month of February, and it was one of my best reading months of the year, I only read 3 of them that were on my TBR. So the ones that I have left, I DNF'd Artemis. I gave it like 20 pages, and then I kind of knew I wasn't going to read it, and I unhauled it. I still haven't read A Caribbean Heiress in Paris, and I still haven't read Count Your Lucky Stars. In March, I ended up with 10 books on my Kerplunk TBR. Because I hadn't read very many in February, I had to add a punishment roll, so we had 10 books. 7 of those I read in March. 1 of those I read another month, and 2 of them I left unread. So I read Ophelia After All, I read Goliath, I read A Touch of Light, I read the 3rd Finley Donovan, I read Miss Percy's Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons, Mysterious Ways, and If the Shoe Fits. I read Middle Game, but it was much later. It was like in the summer. And then the one that I didn't read, the one that's unread, I actually DNF'd, and that was Who Fears Death by Nadia Korafor. Now, in April, I only ended up with 6 books on my Kerplunk TBR. So Kerplunk was nice to us. The game was nice to us in April. Unfortunately, I still have 2 that are unread. So I read 4 in the month of April, and then 2 are still unread. So of my unread books in April, I DNF'd How to Stop Time, and then I also have not read Whispers in the Mist by Darcy Coates. This is the 3rd book in the Black Winter series, and it's a crime that I haven't read this one yet, honestly. Then we move into May, and May was a doozy. I had 15 books on my TBR for May, and that I didn't read them all. Not even close, okay? So I read 8 of them in the month of May. I read 2 of them another month, and I still have 5 of them unread. The books that I still have unread are January 15th, Camp Zero, A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. Again, I tried to put it on the TBR and it didn't end up happening. Empire of Gold, which is the 3rd book in the David Bad trilogy, and Fiddle and Fire by Ariel Italics. A couple of these are NetGalley books that like I still have not read, and the object permanence is real. These books don't exist because they don't exist physically. In June, I had 11 books that I needed to read for Kerplunk, and I did better. But I still didn't get all of them. I read 7 books in the month of June. I read 2 books another month, and then I still had 2 books that are still unread. And one of them, some of you are going to kill me for this, one of them is Babel by R.F. Kuang. It's okay, it's okay. And then the other one is Self-Made Boys by Anna Marie McLemore, and I think I've decided I'm just not going to read this one. I don't own it physically, so it was okay. It was like a really weird specific prompt that I needed for Kerplunk, and that was the only one that fit. In July, which was my worst reading month of the year, mostly because of Amazing Readathon prep, but also because we had family in town and we were doing stuff and like I just wasn't reading as much. So I had 8 books on my Kerplunk TBR for July. I read 3 of them in July. I read 3 of them another month, and I still have 2 that are unread. I DNF'd Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and then also I have not read A Crown of Ivy and Glass. Still sitting up on my Van Row shelf. Now, in August, I had a stellar reading month. I read so many books. Unfortunately, not all of them were on my TBR, which I kind of knew was going to happen because I was kind of creating a pile of possibilities for the Amazing Readathon because I wasn't sure what team I was going to be reading for each leg. So I read 2 of them in the month. That's just funny. I read 3 of them another month, and then I have 3 of them still unread. I also think it's extremely funny that in May I had 2 that I had read another month, and both of those were read in August. It was From Below and The Blood Trials by Annie Davenport. And both of those were like almost back-to-back reads at the end of August. But anyways, my 3 unread books that I had on my TBR. The first one was Rolling in the Deep by Mira Grant. This is the prequel novella to Into the Drowning Deep. And then Wretched and Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. In September, we had a much more chill month. I didn't do anything big. Well, we had Battle-a-thon, but for the most part, this was like reading 5-star books, reading books I wanted to read. But I only had 6 books on my Kerplunk TBR, and I read 4 of them in the month, and 2 of them remain unread. That is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick, which I really, really wanted to read. I really wanted to get to by the end of the year. I read about 100 pages of it, and then I had to put it down for other content, but that will definitely be a priority read in 2024. And then I DNF'd The Warp. In October, we were trying to do a bunch of spooky reads. I had 11 books on my Kerplunk TBR. I read 5 of them in the month of October. I read 1 another month, and I have 5 still unread. I never got to Harrow the Ninth. I never got to Mother of Death and Dawn, which just makes me really sad. And I will read it early in 2024. I didn't get to Exit Strategy, so I haven't continued on with the Murderbot series. I didn't get to Divine Rivals, and I didn't get to Reset. And then finally in November, we had Get a Clue Readathon, so this was another one where I knew I probably wasn't going to be reading everything that was on my TBR. I had 9 books on my Kerplunk TBR, and I only read 3 of them in the month of November. But again, like I kind of knew that was going to happen. I read 1 another month, and then I have 5 that are still unread. The Will of the Many, another one that makes me really sad. I really wanted to get to, and it will be a priority read for 2024. I didn't get to The Memory of Animals. I DNF'd The Chateau. I didn't quite get to Daughter of the Beast, although I am hoping to get it done in December. I don't know that that will happen. We have less than a week left at this point. And I didn't get to Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. Those are the books that I still have left. Let me know down in the comments below which one you want to see me read of those unread books, and I will try to do a vlog for like the ones that get the most votes. That is all I have for you today. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!